Hi everyone, I'm Sanjana. I'm the J&J Fireside Chat Coordinator, and I'm here with Craig for another Fireside Chat. Craig, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. So let's dive right in here. Tell us about your educational and professional backgrounds and the path that you took to get to where you are today.
Sure. So I went to Binghamton University for my undergraduate work in mechanical engineering. I got a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and then went through 4 years and decided that I didn't necessarily want to pursue a career in mechanical engineering. I took a couple of electives in my senior year and got really interested in environmental engineering and actually biomedical engineering. Applied for some graduate work for both, ended up going the environmental engineering route, which I went to Drexel University for. And then at my time at Drexel, they also offered a program where I could do 2 master's degrees simultaneously because a lot of the courses overlapped. So I have a master's in environmental engineering and a master's in civil engineering. So that's my schooling background. And then when I went out of school, I pursued environmental engineering, and I worked as a contractor for the Environmental Protection Agency. I did that for 4 years. I did risk assessments. I evaluated potential facilities and sites to be on the Superfund list. I've done a lot of what I did was more on the risk assessment side and kind of helping through that process. Did that for about 6 years and decided at that point that I no longer wanted to pursue environmental engineering, that I had interest maybe elsewhere. And so I pursued the civil engineering side of of my background and got into a job doing telecommunications design work. And I've been doing that for about 22 years now. I got really excited by it, and here I am 22 years later, still in the telecommunications world. And so that's a little bit of my background and how I got to where I am.
That's so cool. It's nice to hear that you got some different exposure all within engineering, but like different like subsectors of engineering. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and the telecommunications work that I do is interesting in the fact that it's not just one type of engineering. Like you really can't go to school for a telecom engineering degree. It's just a combination of a lot of civil, environmental, geotechnical, structural. So I consider myself like an engineer Swiss Army knife, that I'm able to, in my background, I have so many different degrees, and even in my work experience, I'm able to do so many different types of designs all rolled into one ball, on a daily basis, which keeps things definitely keeps you on your toes, and you're always learning something.
That's awesome. And if there are any students out there listening interested in engineering, you don't need to even box yourself. As we can see with Craig's story, you can be in a bunch of different boxes with engineering. So that's super cool.
Yeah, the more you can do and the more you can learn, the more valuable you are to whatever company you're working for. You can network yourself better. You're just more well-rounded.
Absolutely, I agree. All right, so my next question for you is, did you have any significant extracurricular experiences in high school or college that really helped you later on in your career?
So, most engineers are somewhat introverted, right? They're not, we don't tend to be the most social people in the world. So as far as extracurricular, there's nothing from an engineering perspective that I really did. Quite honestly, in college, I mean, like a lot of people, I joined a social fraternity. And I think that using that experience to be able to come out of my shell and be able to be confident in myself, and it's even a situation where you're networking yourself with friends and with people you don't know, with other charters. I think that helped me in my career be able to network with other people within my company, to be able to develop those relationships. Right now, I feel very comfortable doing like public speaking. Right, I have no problem standing in front of thousands of people and give speeches. And I think having that social interaction and not not being an introvert so much really helped me break out of my shell when I was in college, since I tended to be a loner. I think that really helped me. So it may not necessarily be an educational type of extracurricular, but being comfortable within yourself and learning that, in business, it's not just about always doing calculations or doing a design. It's also about personal relationships, working as a team, collaborating, having the confidence to be able to sell yourself to a company, or even to the person who's running your company, right? To be able to sell yourself and be comfortable. I think those areas are what helped me in my career to be able to follow my path and take on leadership roles that I wanted to be able to do as I came into my different companies.
No, that's definitely like an extracurricular. I mean, I think communication is super important. And you're right. Like, you only really get those experiences once you put yourself out there, whether it's in a club or in an organization or something like that. It's not really common to have that sort of experience in a classroom. I mean, you can present and do things like that, but true public speaking and like communication, it really just comes in natural settings. So I think it's super important.
Yep, totally agree.
All right. So my last question is, what advice would you give to young people who will be embarking on their professional lives soon?
So I can tell you what's worked for me, right? And how I went through my career path and how I've been able to achieve my goals and my aspirations in my career. And the you don't always need to know what you want to do, right? You get the question during interviews, where you want to be in 5 years, where you want to be in 10 years. And it's a very cliche type of question that you might get asked, but what I can only tell you what's worked for me. And I'm a very goal oriented person, right? I've always been, this is what I want to do down the line. I want to be at this point in my career here. I want to be at this point in my career here. And so for anybody who's looking to get into an engineering type business, it's very important for you to set goals, both short term and long term, right? And actually write them down. Don't just think about them. Actually brainstorm about what you want to do. Where do I want to do in 2 years? What kind of company do I want to work for? What kind of culture do I want them to have? What kind of responsibilities do I want to take on? Do I want to take on a more technical path? Do I want to take on a more project manager path? Do I want to be in a type of engineering that's a little more on the creative side of things, where I can kind of spread my wings creatively? Or do I want to just be able to focus on black and white type of calculations and doing things to code? There's a lot of different areas that you can move into engineering that you don't necessarily think about when you're going through school. But whatever it is, you have to know what your path is and what you think is best. Like, to me, the biggest thing is, you should never wake up every morning to go into a job and not look forward to it, right? If you're dreading it, then you're not where you need to be. And I think my journey in changing majors and in trying something and then moving in a different direction, because that's not what was necessarily motivating me every day, I let the goals that I set for myself drive those decisions, right? If I feel like my path is moving away from a goal, then I know that personally I'm not fulfilled, right? So that's where I've been able to get. So I'm at a point in my career where I've been able to really grow my own business because I've been very goal oriented, right? So that's step one, is to make sure you write down your goals. Be honest with yourself. What are you looking to achieve? What do you want in 10 years? What do you want to be doing? What type of work do you want to be doing? What kind of company do you want to work for? Um, the second part of that advice, because I see a lot of younger engineers may even have those goals, but they don't articulate them. And it's really important when you're coming up in your career and you're going to be working for people, that you articulate what, especially in the interview process and even in your first year or two in a company, you should be pretty vocal about what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, as an individual person, you're gonna be able, like, it's your job to make sure that you're being heard and that people are listening to you and where you want to go. Any company that tries to, I don't want to say the word force, but tell them what they want out of an individual person doesn't become fulfilling. You shouldn't be doing what a company wants you to do. You should be following your own career path and make sure that the company is giving you the tools, the challenges, and the accountability to take and meet those goals, right? That's my job as a manager here. I manage over 100 people, and I don't tell anybody what their goals are. They have to tell me what they are. And then it's my job to give them the support and the tools and the mentorship to be able to get them to where they want to go. So write your goals down, make sure, and if you don't know them, you should always be thinking about them. And they're always changing for me every year, right? I'm always evaluating them. And then I make sure to talk to my supervisors about them. I talk to the leaders of the company about what I want to do to make sure that we're aligned, and that if there's something that I need to work on to get there, that's fine. It's transparency is great, and expectations are important to be understood on both sides. So write your goals down and then make sure you're vocal about them so everybody understands where you want to be, so you could all work together to be able to achieve them.
That was an amazing piece of advice. I think it's something that I definitely need to also do. It's easy to sort of think of, general goals or like broad goals that I have, but actually kind of narrowing it down as much as I can and writing it down and really seeing it on paper, it definitely has a different impact. So that was an amazing piece of advice. And all people watching out there, young people, old people, anyone, I think can use that advice. So thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, so that was all I had for the fireside chat, but this was a great session. As I said, I gained a lot from it, and I know everyone else will too. So thank you again, Craig, for being here.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.